All right, welcome back to the Housing Advocate, the podcast of the Southern Utah Home Builders Association. I'm Stacy Young. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Southern Utah Home Builders Association. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Josh McCourt. Did I get that right?
You nailed it.
Okay.
Yep, it's a pretty uncommon, crazy, hard to pronounce name.
Do you prefer Josh or Joshua? I've never
Josh.
asked you that. Okay,
Yep.
Cool. We'll go with that. Yeah, I'm super excited to have you in here today. Like we talked about just briefly before we started recording, we've decided to take the podcast branch it out a little bit from what we've been doing. We've been doing a lot of more policy-oriented episodes. We have had mixed in other things a little bit, but we want to use the platform to also let our membership get to know some of their fellow members a little greater depth, and we thought you'd be a great candidate to help kind of kick off that tangent for us. So appreciate you doing this.
I always think it's funny because it seems like I always get tied in with political stuff. And it's just funny because the different luncheons that we have sponsored in the past, we've happened to nail it where it's always the pre-election season ones. So it always seems like it's poop and politics, and everybody feels like that ties together very nicely, actually. So I'm honored to be here.
Awesome. So maybe picking up on that. So maybe let's start by just having you tell us kind of who you're with, your company, how it fits into the SUHBA membership and all that.
Yeah, so I'm with igotpoop.com, which is not the original name of the company. And in 2019, I moved down to Southern Utah from Price. So I'm from Eastern Utah area originally. And I moved down and opened a branch of my dad's company. So I'd recently gotten home from a mission and was looking to start my own family, start moving forward. And we thought it would be a good idea to branch out into this area. And so here I am, moved down here and started out.
Wow. So about 6 years then. Mm-hmm. And it was building on a business that you had already established, or your dad had already established in Price.
Yes.
So you kind of had, I guess, from that, can I guess and maybe have you fill in what that looked like? How sort of established was all of the practices and so forth and policies of the company, and how much did you have to pioneer?
Well, there's just different portions of it that you have to just figure out as you go, because we didn't have really any infrastructure in the area. Mm-hmm. And so figuring out, like, our trucks, you can't just dump them in an RV dump. You have to take them to the sewer treatment plant. So figuring out all of the things that we have to do to be in compliance with the regulations that are in the area, because as funny as it may seem, water, everybody knows that water is a big deal, but wastewater is also a big deal on where it goes, because you can't, transporting any sort of water into different counties, into different areas is, there's a lot of regulations surrounding that, even if it's wastewater. And so figuring out what we need to do to be in compliance with the different ordinances and laws in the area, and things like that it's interesting because you're basically learning as you go, and you have to figure out who you're talking to, and there's different things that you might not have been aware of that someone makes you aware of because they're not going to let you dump, or they're not going to let you do certain things unless you figure out how to be in compliance. Like, one small example is you have to have a St. George City business license to be able to dump at the county, the waste treatment plant that's in Bloomington. And we didn't know that at first. And we dumped a few times, and they'd let us dump before we were made aware of that. So all of a sudden we were shut down and had to go and get a business license from St. George City. We had a business license in Washington, which is where we started and where we were operating out of to begin with, but we weren't aware of the need for a business license there. So I think that's one of the biggest, just like day-to-day fires, one of the fires you have to put out when you first start in a particular area is, first and foremost, being in compliance with whatever laws, ordinances, regulations you need to be in. And then the second one is actually meeting people, because my network at the time when I moved down here was, I have a grandma that lives close to the temple. I've got a couple aunts, uncles, some cousins, but very limited as far as a business aspect goes. And so that was the second, well, one of the hurdles that I had to climb was meeting people, getting to know the people that were influential in the area, and getting rolling.
Yeah. No, it's actually one of the first questions that pops to mind is just sort of how did that look in the early days? Did you come more or less by yourself? Did you have any employees to start with, or did you just initially start and just have to kind of figure this out on your own as you started growing the business? Or I mean, that takes a lot of ambition and courage to do that at the ripe young age that you still are.
The tender age of 20 years old. Yeah. I'm still quite young, and and it's a lot of fun because I feel like there's a certain point where, like, a lot of people, when you're the one that is young, you're intimidated by that personally. But I don't feel like other people, like, when somebody that's more experienced, I'll say, instead of saying old, when somebody is more experienced, they don't necessarily look at youth with oh, you're not experienced, you don't know anything. If you're a go-getter and you're trying to get things done and you have a willingness to learn and you're really wanting to build something, I've found that most of the time people find that they see themselves in you when you're trying to go, and they want to give a lending hand. Like I've had so many people over the last 6 years that I'm so grateful for, because they gave me so much that I did not deserve. Like and just the network, like, because the first year that we were here, if you think about it, 6 years ago, 2019, 2020. And so there were some limited ability to network and to meet different people, but I was just very blessed in the people that I did get to meet. Because there's one person that I will actually even shout out by name that I am really appreciative of is Jared Lindquist. And he gave me, when I first got acquainted with him, and like we happened to go to the same gym is really what it came down to. And we also went to church together. And he gave me a list of like all of the contractors that he knew, because he does drywall. He's a drywall contractor. And he gave me this long list. And so that is way better than cold calling somebody, is if you get referred by someone else.
Right.
And the biggest lesson that he taught me, and a quote that I've shared tons of times, is especially because there's so many hard things that you have to do when you're running a business. He said that when there was something tough that he was about to do and was kind of worried about going for, he would tell himself, this is what I said I would do to provide for my family. And that just clears your path, because I'm young. I've got 3 kids already too, and a wife that I'm supporting and working to build a future with. And when there's something that is a challenge that you're worried about, that is kind of you're intimidated by, saying that to yourself really clears the path. At least it has for me, because that's a responsibility, and I take that very serious. And that just basically refocuses and helps you to move forward.
Yeah. No, a lot of really great stuff in there. So fast forward the 6 years, now you're the pillar in SUHBA. You're a member of the board and really active. We see you all the time, and they're always happy to. You're always a bright spot in my day. Anyway, I'll say that. Fill in some of those 6 years. So where are you guys to now as a business, and when did you join SUHBA, and fill in a few more of those details.
Another person that I'll shout out, I don't know if they're listening to this or not, but one of the first people that we ran into, me and my brother, because when we first came down, it was basically just me. Like, my brother came down a little bit, would help out on occasion, and when we really needed help, we'd have guys from our other branches come down and lend a hand. But for the most part, day-to-day stuff, it was just me for about a year. And one of the first people we ran into was John Pratt with Copiers for Sale. And that was one of the questions that I asked him, and he's very happy to help again, like another person I'm very grateful for. And he said, have you guys heard of SUHBA? And I'm like, what is SUHBA? And then he expounded, told us what it was, and said
the underwater ship, right?
Exactly.
The SUHBA.
Yeah. And so he told us about it and when meetings were and stuff. And so we showed up. And at that time, I haven't heard it happen as well. Like, it happens now too, I guess. I think the last luncheon I was at, they did it, but where anybody that's visiting can stand up and introduce themselves. Anybody that's a new member can stand up and introduce themselves. And so me and my brother were there, and with our company name, you get giggles regardless of what you're doing. You gotta kind of
lean into it, right?
Yeah. I've always said that at first, and I've said intimidating a lot on this podcast, but at first you're intimidated by it. I mean, this uniform isn't for the faint of heart. But then it's empowering because people laugh, and you'll see somebody kind of smirking, and then they'll come up and tell you some dumb poop joke that their grandpa used to say all the time or something like that. And then you have a new friend.
Mm-hmm. It's an icebreaker.
It is. It immediately people have something that they feel connected to you with, even though it's kind of gross. Everybody does it. Everybody's aware of it. Like, it's just funny how warm people get because of our name. And so John Pratt told us about it. So me and my brother showed up, and it's so awkward when you don't know anyone.
Sure.
Trying to break that ice and talk to people and get a network. But I mean, slowly through being gradually we've gotten more and more active in the organization. And it's been one that's been very beneficial for our business, because even though we don't build houses, the Home Builders Association, we are a part of the process.
Absolutely.
And everybody has a bad porta potty experience, and we're doing everything that we can to make it so that you don't ever have that, by being prompt with our service, by taking it serious, because it's a serious part of any construction site, events, everything. If the porta potties are not good, that's what people talk about when they leave.
Yeah.
And with the houses, with home building, if it's not good, you're getting some downtime because guys are driving to Maverick or going wherever else they deem fit.
Yep.
And it can slow down that process. And I hope that we're making some difference in the community by having a good service. And that's what we try to take pride in and try to provide.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's one of the reasons I was excited to have you on is, when people who are somewhat aware of the Home Builders Association think about us, they really associate it strongly with the parade of homes, and secondarily with the general contractors who build those parade homes. They don't realize that the majority of our membership, and by a lot, are associate members that are supportive of the home building process in some form or fashion, and it's an incredibly broad base of professionals who feature in that process. So yeah, I think it's great to highlight just how many aspects of the home building process come into play that people may not really think about and realize how important they are and how much of a difference they can make for things going better or worse. So yeah, no, I think it's absolutely true. And again, like any other piece of the process, having someone take it seriously and deliver good service makes all the difference. And ultimately, that's how you're going to succeed, right?
Absolutely. And that's like, just to give another plug for SUHBA, is there's not another place in the area where you're going to have as much direct contact with the people in this industry, period. Because, and like for my service particularly, everybody at some point needs it, depending on what they have going on. Like if you're, like the list goes on when you might need a porta potty or a dumpster, or we do septic pumping and we do all sorts of things in that regard. And so just having that touch point with this industry has been extremely valuable, and a great place to be able to actually develop friendships with the people and not just a sales relationship. Because there's a lot of people that I feel close with, that like being on the board, being in the different committees that we're on, that that don't necessarily use my services, but I have a good relationship with them. And if I need something, I can call them. And if they ever need me, they know how to get a hold of me, and they know who I am.
Right.
And I think that that's one of the valuable things is you can be somebody that people know, and people refer to those that they know. And so I've loved the organization and just been really impressed with not just what we've been able to get from it, but also being able to be involved. Like it's really amazing how quickly you can go from somebody that's spent very little time in southern Utah to being a part of the community if you involve yourself.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. I think, and you're such a testament to that. And it's you and folks like you that make the association what it is. And it's a cliche, the old saw that you get in what you put, you get out what you put in. And I certainly see that with you, boy. You give a lot of your time and yourself, and I hope that it is coming back to you tenfold. On that front, so I know besides the board, you are active on a couple of the other committees that are important sort of missions of the association, and I think that's another really interesting element that you bring to it with your youth is one of our really important planks of our mission is education and trying to recruit the next generation of folks into the industry in one form or fashion. Could you talk a little bit about your involvement on that side of life? Yeah.
So one of the one of the main committees that I spend the most time on, and I feel like you're overblowing how much time I give. I don't feel like it's very much, and there's definitely more that I could do. But with the young professionals, like the Young Professionals Committee, that is our main focus and main mission, is presenting the construction industry as something that is attractive and helping people to see the benefits that come from having this type of job. Because I was homeschooled from 8th grade and on, and from that, just have a different perspective on the school system and just a lot of stuff in that regard. But one thing I remember from when I was younger, and even you see it now, there's some industries that seem to be looked down on, and anything that's labor intensive seems to be looked down on in some regard within the school system. And I don't want to bag on the school system. There's great things. I don't want to be a negative Nancy in any way. There's a lot of positives. But there is so much opportunity, especially now. And I think that it's a great disservice that gets done is when this opportunity isn't presented to young people, because there's plumbers and there's HVAC and there's electrical and then there's general contractors, there's porta potties and septic and things like that people might not be as privy to, that are great opportunities to be able to make a living and to provide for your family. Yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And stuff on the design side of things, so I think about our relationship with the Career Tech High School and all the different lanes that they have. There's so much choice there, and like you're saying, just even to present it neutrally so that kids that have the aptitude or interest that is aligned with this don't rule it out without a fair shake. So yeah, I think it's great that you're involved in that, and I think it does help kind of showcase what the possibilities are, because the truth is you can really provide well for yourself and your family and have a great life and lifestyle in the home building industry for sure, and it can take, like you said, so many different forms. On that front, did I see something? Were you involved in some kind of mock interviews or something like that?
I was.
Yeah, tell me about that.
I did want to, because I think the Career Tech High School is amazing. And for anybody that hasn't, like, if you can go and see what it is and what it's about and just research it a little bit, I think it's an amazing opportunity for the young people in the community that are a little bit more, I don't want to say focused, because I think there's plenty of people that are in the other high schools that are focused, but it's such a lovely opportunity for somebody that already has a bend in a particular direction. And so last week I got to go and participate in some mock job interviews where the different pathways is what I think they refer to them as, where there's business, there's construction, there's nursing and education and computer tech and graphic arts and so many different pathways that these students can choose. And I got to be a representative for the construction industry in interviewing these 11th and 12th graders as if they were having a job interview with me. And one thing that I really thoroughly enjoyed was I didn't just interview construction pathway kids. I interviewed some that were going on the education track and some that were doing business, and it was just really fun to give them that experience and to give them feedback on what I thought, because I've interviewed quite a few people and not every interview is equal, and hopefully giving them an opportunity to better present themselves was very rewarding. And I had a blast. Like, they're so bright, and there's so many wonderful young people that are coming up that it's funny for me to say young because I'm not old at all. But I just think it's very encouraging to see what they're doing and who is going to be the next generation of workers and leaders and business owners and the people that are going to be contributing to our community shortly. Yeah, no, it's awesome. Well, gee, I think those were the main areas I wanted to cover that I was curious to hear more about. Anything you think I left out or that you'd like to touch on? Just, again, I try to be as grateful as I can be for everything that I have and what I've been given. And one person that I would like to shout out, because I didn't get to talk about them at all, is my dad, Jesse. And he really has given me everything. I'm able to run a business here because he had the courage to start a business in 2003 is when I got started. And that's just one thing that I will say for anybody that's thinking about starting a business, that's considering going out for themselves. You might fail. You're taking a very serious chance. But whether you fail or whether you succeed, the example that you're setting for your children will affect generations. And my dad's courageous decision to take the leap and to start a business has provided me an opportunity to provide for my family, and has helped to provide for hundreds of others of people's families, and has given me an opportunity that I can't see this of ever happening otherwise. And so I'm just extremely grateful for him and what he's done for me. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. Yeah, no, I love that. It doesn't surprise me that you express that or feel that way, but it is a great message to maybe end on, and really a lot of great inspirational nuggets for anybody that wants to be inspired to level up in their life. So thanks again for doing this, Josh. Yeah, no problem. Really appreciate you always. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks, Stacy. Yeah, and thanks also to the rest of our audience for tuning in. We hope you'll check us out next month. See you next time.